Good to go? Greetings, everyone. Hello to all of you new Sun Devils and your families. My name is Katie Packwood, and I'm the Vice President for Media Relations and Strategic Communications here at Arizona State University, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. We're so glad you could join us today to learn more about what campus life will look like this fall. We know that this is a unique time and each of you have questions about many different aspects of university life, and we hope to answer as many questions as possible today. Just a word about sort of our setup here. So we can't see you, but you can see us. We can't hear you either, but we're able to take your questions via the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And as I mentioned, we'll do our best to answer every question today, but every question that gets inputted into the Q&A box will be answered at some point in time, either during the live session or throughout the session. We've got folks who will be taking questions that don't pop up live, and we'll follow up with anybody who doesn't get their question answered here today. So we're ready to get started, but before we jump into our Q&A session, I'd like to introduce our president, ASU President Michael Crow, who's joining us to say a few words about the learning environment that we've created for the fall and the positive experience we hope each of you will have with us as new Sun Devils. Dr. Crow?
Can everybody hear me all right?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So what I'd like to do first is welcome you to Arizona State University and to being a Sun Devil. We're excited that you're on your way to ASU, that you're going to become a part of America's most innovative university, a university deeply committed to inclusivity, deeply committed to research that matters, and deeply committed to, as our charter states, to the success and well-being of our communities on every level: economic, social, cultural, health and well-being, all things. And so you can imagine the last few months for us have been rather unusual. But for us, unusual means what can we learn? How can we adapt? How can we adjust? And so in March of 2020, we couldn't operate the university in 3 simultaneous teaching and learning modalities. And in June of 2020, we can. We take from our tradition in ASU of high-speed innovation, high-speed intellectual innovation, high-speed technological innovation, high-speed evolution of the institution. And we took all of that as we encountered COVID, and we developed a third way to teach and learn. Our core way is what we call the full immersion on-campus technology-enhanced learning environment. 75,000 students on our 4 campuses, 5,000 faculty members, give or take, all compressed together. 25,000 support staff, 100,000 people learning in one of the most intensive learning environments that humans have ever created. Hundreds of degree programs, thousands of ways for you to advance, a way for you to plot your own course. So we've been building that and nurturing that and really greatly enhancing that the last 15 or 20 years. And we're very proud of what we have in that full immersion on-campus learning environment. And then the last 10 years or so, we've been advancing technologically into what we call digital immersion, online learning for students that went to college and weren't able to finish in the past, or people that are in the military and things like this. And so in that arena, we learned a lot. And then so along comes COVID-19, and we found a way to rapidly, almost instantly, create a third way of learning, what we call ASU Sync, which is full immersion, face-to-face learning, live learning, interacting with us. And so as we open for the fall semester, our plan is as follows. We will be fully prepared with every technological tool that humans have, in fact, those that we've invented ourselves, a fully licensed new sampling technique for COVID, for self-sampling through saliva, high-speed robots that we've built, designed, and deployed over the last few months on testing for COVID, as well as new learning platforms, new learning facilities, new ways to enhance learning so that we can shape and build for our on-campus environment, a place to be where learning can be intensive and health and safety can be maximized. And then as a part of that, from what we learned in the last semester, and I think that this is important, we're building into all 900 of our classrooms the ability for a student to Zoom in to be live present like television, to be live present in any classroom for any class anywhere within the entire comprehensive course portfolio of the university. And so what we mean by that then is that we're going to be able to operate the university in whatever level of health management and safety management that's necessary to ensure your health and safety, and to ensure the health and safety of our staff. We are deploying those systems as we speak. We're confident that these can work. And we're even more confident that what we found and what we've come across is a new way to enhance teaching and learning. We're going to be taking our most elaborate, in a sense, think of them as robot-based tools, or tools that are what we call adaptive learning tools, ways to enhance learning. We're going to be moving those in from our online programs. We're going to be taking our ASU Sync technology and making that available to students that are fully immersed on campus. So we may have students in a class, if we have to be socially distanced, where you're in one class physically and then one class Zooming, and then you switch over time. And so, but you'll have access to the faculty, access to the teaching assistants, access to everything that we've got going on. And so we're very excited about then being able to create then for the students on campus like yourselves, a fully immersive, technologically enhanced, technologically empowered learning environment, matching that with the unbelievable work that we've been able to do with the Mayo Clinic as our partner, with other companies that we've been working with to build personal health and safety apps, to build our testing technology, our sampling technology. And so we are excited about being able to reassemble for the fall semester in early August, starting classes around August 20th. We're excited about being able to move through and make things happen for you. We're excited that you're going to be able to engage our thousands of faculty members and tens of thousands of support personnel, full library, full assets, full services, but all in the context of socially distanced and technologically empowered. Our confidence that this works is very high. We successfully navigated the last part of the spring semester. We're ready. We're navigating right now the summer session with tens of thousands of students in both our sync mode and our online mode. So we're in fact very excited about the possibilities. Now, there are innumerable reasons that coming to campus is really, really important, and it's a part of the total social experience, if you will, the total immersion, what we call immersive experience on campus. And that immersive experience will be present. Students will be working in teams. Students will be living together. Students will be healthy and safe together because of our testing regimen, because of our support, because of our training, because of the world-class assets that we have to just make this whole thing work. And so we're excited about the opening of the fall semester. I'm excited about the panel and that you're joining us today in this session to be able to get your questions answered and so forth. And so I don't see any questions on the webinar chat, but maybe I can't see it. But if there's any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them right now, if that's all right with you, Katie. It's just whatever you think is best.
Sure. Michelle, are there any questions directly for Dr. Crow?
Don't see any directly for Dr. Crow. There are several academic questions that I just put in the chat for you. So I don't know if you want him to take some of those.
So here's one question for you, Dr. Crow.
Okay.
Due to travel restrictions, if a student is not able to travel to the US to take classes in person, can they take classes online? How will it work for them?
Well, even better than that. So what we've decided for a student that might be coming in from Europe or Asia or the Middle East, we have it set up so you'll be able to not just take classes online, you'll be able to Zoom right into all of your classes. And then when travel restrictions are let up, then you'll be able to just come on campus. And so you'll have online assets, but you'll have direct face-to-face interaction with faculty. You'll still be in the student groups. You'll still be participating as if you're on campus. And we're excited. We're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars this summer to build that technology so that everyone can Zoom in and Zoom out of all of our almost 1,000 classrooms that we have. So we're very excited about that. So you'll be able, if you can't travel for whatever reason, then you just start in August and then come when the travel restrictions are lifted, and you'll be in good shape because you'll be fully engaged with the university.
So I'll throw One more question your way. We have a question about whether or not students and faculty will be required to wear masks inside buildings. And so maybe if you can take that and then just also talk a little bit about other measures that we're putting in place to provide a safe and healthy environment.
So based on everything we know right now, we are going to require masks in buildings on campus. And we're also going to be we are building more outdoor spaces, outdoor classrooms, outdoor workspaces. Again, spending substantial resources on those things. And so we don't think that the masks, once people become used to them, will be onerous. There is a chance that that won't be a requirement by that time. There is a chance that it will stay a requirement through the fall semester. And so we don't know. We're confident that we can make that work. We will be providing masks. We will be providing a kit to every student to be able to make an adjustment to the COVID world. And what we know is that with our testing technology, with our health and safety app, with the quality of our health center and the way that we can manage all these things, with our telehealth capabilities, that students can come for a fully immersive environment and be safe.
Thank you. Any last thoughts for the 350 students and families newly admitted that are joining us today virtually and others watching live online?
I think that the best last thought I have for you is that, we're a 24/7 institution that's been working tirelessly around the clock to make certain that no one's, really desire to go to college is going to be interrupted. And so we're doing everything that we can so that the full immersion experience can be safe, can be healthy, and can be intellectually productive. And so we're excited about all of that. And so we're doing everything we can so that your life as a student can get started the way that you hoped that it could get started, while also being safe.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Crow. Thanks for joining us today. And we'll look forward to seeing you again.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Now I'd like to go ahead and introduce our panelists for this session, each of whom has responsibility for different parts of your learning experience and in maintaining a healthy campus. Let's start with Quinlan here on the screen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Quinlan Ashlock. I am a third-year student studying elementary education on the Tempe campus, and I'm here today to talk to you about the student experience in regards to what the fall will look like.
Thanks, Quinlan. Let's next go to Dr. Aska.
Hello, everybody. Cassandra Aska. I'm the Deputy Vice President, Dean of Students at the Tempe campus. Really excited to welcome you all to our great institution. And just like Quinlan said, looking to be able to share with you what these experiences will look like for you this fall.
And next up, Dr. Corey.
Good afternoon. My name is Frederick Corey, and I'm Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education. And I'm very much looking forward to teaching Introduction to Human Communication to a group of first-year incoming students this fall.
Great, thank you. Dr. Jaj?
Hi, my name is Sukhwan Jaj. I'm Vice Provost for Academic Innovation and Student Achievement. Very excited about talking to you about ASU Sync, technology, and all the good work we are doing to get ready for your arrival in fall.
Thank you. Mr. Bellavia?
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Rudy Bellavia, Managing Director for the Office of Business and Finance. We oversee a lot of the university operations, and I'm happy to welcome all of you and look forward to answering some questions.
Thanks, Rudy, and I apologize for mispronouncing your last name.
You did
Dr.
well.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joanne Vogel. I serve as the Vice President of Student Services. We're so very excited that you will be joining us. And my role today is to answer questions about health and well-being.
And last but not least, Dr. Wentz. Oops, did we lose Dr. Wentz? Oh,
chatting away without my mic being on. My name is Libby Wentz, and I'm the Vice Provost and Dean of the Graduate College. I know many of the first year students have already finished their bachelor's degrees, and they're looking forward to starting their graduate programs. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about graduate school.
Thanks so much. So we'd like to cover three main areas with you in our next hour together. The first being how you will learn, what your learning experience will look like. The second area that we want to spend some time talking about is your health and wellness. How are we as a university going to care for you when you're here on campus, and what's that going to look like? The third area that we want to talk about is what life on campus in general is going to look like. What kind of dining options are you going to have? What are events going to look like? Things of that nature. We'll spend 15 minutes on each of those topics, and then we'll answer questions about other topics that you might be interested or we may have missed with our remaining time. But a little bit about each of these sections first, starting with how you will learn. If you could go to the next slide. So our goal here really is to provide you with a quality learning experience and environment that adheres to all of the public health and safety guidelines from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So we have a team of folks at the university that are constantly monitoring what the CDC is doing and what their recommendations are, and then making adjustments accordingly to our learning environment here. What we've set up for the fall is that we'll have classes that will include a blend of in-person and ASU Sync experiences. That's the environment that Dr. Crow described, where some days you'll be in class in person, other days you'll be attending class via ASU Sync, which is our Zoom-based technology-enhanced learning environment. And you are also going to hear from your professors directly about how they will teach your individual classes. Details for each of your classes will be found by the start of the semester on your My ASU My Classes tab. So more information will be forthcoming from each of your professors about exactly how your class is going to operate come this fall. The next item I just want to provide a little bit of detail on is what we're doing here on campus to help maintain your health and wellness. So if we could go to the next slide. So as Dr. Crow mentioned, at this moment in time, we are going to be requiring face coverings in all ASU buildings and in outdoor community spaces where social distancing measures cannot be followed. So examples of outdoor community spaces include bike racks and sidewalks or parking garages where you are likely to come into close contact with individuals and may not be able to socially distance. And so he also mentioned that we're going to be providing a kit at the start of the semester where we will provide you with 2 free face coverings, and then we'll be making those available around campus throughout the semester as well. For any student and employee who needs it, you will have access to COVID-19 testing on campus. And as he also mentioned, in partnership with the Mayo Clinic, we're launching what we call the Health Check Health Status Verification Platform, which will be offered through the ASU mobile app. And you can download that when you get to campus, and more details will be forthcoming on that. I also just wanted to provide a couple of details about life on campus as well. So if we could go to the next slide. So all of our ASU student services will be available in person and in a digital environment. We want to make sure that students have access to all of those services in whatever environment they feel most comfortable in. We transitioned all of those services to a remote environment last March, and it worked very well. And so, as mentioned, students will have access to those either digitally or in person. For dining, we will maintain a takeout dining experience with prepackaged disposable utensils for the fall semester. We're also implementing new protocols such as touchless payments, physical distancing in lines, sneeze guards. You're probably familiar with some of those plexiglass barriers, and we'll also have extended hours across campuses so that students have just more freedom and flexibility in the dining halls. All ASU buildings, including residence halls and classrooms, will receive a thorough cleaning with medical grade products, followed by a fogging systems cleanse prior to occupancy this fall. And then during the semester, all buildings will receive a thorough cleaning once per day, and high touch surfaces will be cleaned twice daily. So those are quick overviews of each of the topic areas that we wanted to talk about. We're now ready to move on to the Q&A session of our event. As I mentioned, we can't see any of you, but we can see your questions coming in. So please go ahead and start submitting your questions specifically related to the learning environment. And we're going to spend 15 minutes talking about that environment right now. All right, and so first question we have here, bear with me. First question, when will we know which classes will be online and which classes will be in person? Dr. Corey, I'm going to ask you to answer that one.
I would be delighted to answer that. So you will already know what you should do is go to My ASU. That is going to be your portal, and you're going to find yourself using My ASU a lot while you're a student here. And you will see on My ASU your schedule of classes. If it says I course, that would be with a small I, capital C, O-U-R-S-E. That means the class is entirely online. So you will log into that class in what we call our learning management system. It's called Canvas. And you will take your course entirely online in what we call an asynchronous mode. What a word. What a word. What does that mean? Asynchronous. That means that you will be taking the class on your own time. Like, it's not a set time. You don't have to be in the classroom every morning at 8:30. You need to self-pace through what we call the I course. And so you need to be good at time management for that. Now, the teacher is going to help you by putting a lot of deadlines, but you are in charge of working your own way through that asynchronous course. Now, there's another kind of course that will be a full campus immersion course. And when you're looking at My ASU, you are going to see days of the week listed, like M stands for Monday, T is Tuesday, W is Wednesday, TH is Thursday, F is Friday. And then you will see times listed there. Now, some of your classes, many of your classes actually are just going to function completely normally. So if your class begins on Monday at 9:15, then you appear in the room indicated, the classroom indicated, right there on your schedule in My ASU on Monday at 9:20. Actually, 9:15, because you do want to be on time, right? All right, so you get there at 9:15 normally. Now, for distancing, we're going to take some of our classes and use what Dr. Crow called the ASU Sync mode. And in those cases, what your instructor might do is say, all right, we meet twice a week. So we meet on Tuesday and Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to divide this class into two groups. Group A will come on Tuesday, and Group B will be zooming into the classroom experience. So it's a different experience, but it's equally good. It's kind of fun, actually, to zoom in. And then on Thursday, you flip. So the people who were not there on Tuesday come on, if you were in the room on Tuesday, then you zoom on Thursday. If you're in the class on Thursday, you zoom on Tuesday. And this is how we're going to create social distancing. So you will know, and when are you going to find that out? Before the semester begins, each of your instructors will send you a notice through the ASU email, or more likely through this thing we call Canvas. And it'll be an announcement, and you'll get the alert in your email, and it will tell you how that specific course is going to be structured and what days you'll be coming to class. So that was a somewhat long answer. I hope that was helpful, though. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Corey. So here's another question, then I'm going to give this one to you, Dr. Jaj. If I choose ASU Sync, will I be able to do labs through that learning environment? What's that going to look like for students?
Great question. Our faculty and our deans are working very closely together on creating this experience for fall. And it is going to be a mixture of coming into the lab and doing some of the core activities in the lab. Like, there are certain things you would only learn by doing, right amount of social distancing, a lot of control in the lab. So there is that. Then there are certain elements of a lab which might be broadcast to you live through ASU Sync. And then, as Dr. Crow earlier mentioned, we have incredible capability as an institution on online simulation and techniques. So there are some modules that might be actually online, where you can do them at your own time and at your own pace. So we're going to use the best of it to create absolutely a stellar learning experience by combining the things. And faculty and the deans are working very closely together to get it ready for you in the fall. Great question.
Thank you, Dr. Jaj. And Quinlan, maybe you could talk a little bit about your experience taking classes through ASU Sync, the Zoom-based technology, since you were here with us during the spring semester and actually experienced that yourself. Could you provide a little perspective on that?
Of course. So as I stated before, I am a elementary education major. So in the spring, I had a few education classes that were online. And at first I was very worried about what that would look like for us online. And that in person is, you get more of that opportunity to discuss with your classmates and to interact with other people. And that's really important with education. But over Zoom, we still got that. And because it's such a small environment together with everyone on Zoom, I found myself more eager to participate in the Zoom call because we're all there together in such an odd format, but we're able to still be successful in our classes. And I think that the professors and the teachers for all of our classes are being even more considerate to our needs as students because they understand this new format. And I definitely experienced that in the spring as well. And I think with everything that ASU is doing to prep for the fall, I'm confident that the instructors and the professors will be there for all of us students in the fall as well to make us the most successful.
Thanks, Quinlan. Our next question is really about scholarships. So one of our participants has a question about whether or not they'll be able to keep their New American Scholarship if they choose to take classes through the ASU Sync mode. And so maybe we could speak, more broadly about, scholarships and how those will work for the fall 2020 semester. So is there somebody either in academic affairs or student services that wants to take this one? Dr. Corey, I see you are ready to go.
Sure. Answers that we need to be very careful because everybody's financial aid portfolio is different and unique. And we have financial aid counselors who will be able to answer your very specific questions. So generally speaking, yes, all of our New American University scholarships, the Obama scholarships, the Dean's Awards, the President's Awards, and the Provost's Awards are most definitely continuing into during the fall 2020 semester.
Great. Another question, if a student can't travel, chooses not to travel to Arizona or is restricted from traveling and they live within, the United States, can they take classes from home? Dr. Corey,
I can take that one too if you want. So yes, but here's what you should do. You should contact your academic advisor and let your academic advisor know, because this will, and then your advisor can help you organize your schedule, and also be sure to let your professors know. So, I mean, they really do want to know, and they'll be very worried and very concerned if they're not quite sure where you are or how you're doing. So make sure you communicate very effectively with your academic advisor and your professors to be sure everybody is on the same page.
Thank you. We have another question about whether or not the semester will end at Thanksgiving. Dr. Jaj, you want to take that one?
I'll defer to my colleague, Dr. Corey, on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, the semester is going to end at the time as published in the academic calendar. So we're beginning on August 20th. The final week of classes is the week after Thanksgiving, and then final exams begin at that point. Now you want to make sure you check the schedule for the exact date of your final exams. That said, if things change dramatically, if we need to switch to a remote environment after Thanksgiving, then we would do that. But right now, the plan is to continue the semester as normal through to the end of final exams.
Great, thank you. One last question on the learning environment, and then we're getting a lot of questions on health and safety and wellness, so we'll move to that subject next. But we have one individual who is curious about tuition prices for the fall semester, and what those will look like. And so, Dr. Corey, I'm going to keep you on the spot. If you could explain what our tuition setup will be for this fall.
The tuition is posted in the ASU bulletin, so you should definitely check. Again, different, so it's sort of like flying on an airplane. I mean, everybody's paying a different price, but so you need to look real carefully at exactly what your tuition is, and that's going to depend on your resident status, like whether or not you are an Arizona resident, out-of-state resident, international student. It's going to depend on your college. And then of course it's going to depend on your financial aid package. So the tuition is posted, it's published, and so you should make sure that you are looking at your exact tuition portfolio. And if you have questions about it, be sure to let us know so that we can address any questions you have regarding tuition.
Great, thank you, Dr. Corey. And as I mentioned, continue your questions through the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We will get to as many as possible during our live session, but we also have teams of individuals that are tackling questions as they come in as well. And as I mentioned, no question will go unanswered. We will either follow up with you here during this event or afterwards. We just want to make sure that everybody does submit their questions through the Q&A box. Okay, let's move on to what we're doing at ASU to maintain a healthy environment and a safe environment for all of our students and employees that are coming back. So first question up is, if a student gets COVID-19, what will the protocol be related to that student in terms of managing their health and then taking care of areas that those students may have been in? And so Dr. Vogel, you want to take that one?
Sure. So many of you may know that ASU had one of the early cases of COVID. We also have managed several positive cases since that time. And so this, I hope, comes as some comfort to you that we have managed cases and taken great care of students, faculty, and staff who have tested positive. Initially, as you might imagine, we have a protocol that talks about isolating, treating, tracking. So some of those terms will become or are very familiar to you. So of course, if the student has not already been or faculty or staff member in isolation, then we instruct them about how to self-isolate. Following that, we collaborate with the county on their case identification, case interview, and then close contact tracing. So we'll look at what was the proximity of that individual to others. How long was that contact? Does that actually put others at risk? And if so, all of the people that are identified as being at risk would then be contacted, also asked to self-isolate, and would undergo a testing regimen to ensure that they are healthy.
Thank you, Dr. Vogel. This is going to be another one for you. What requirements will out-of-state students have for arriving on campus?
So currently we have no guidelines that suggest our out-of-state students coming to Arizona would need to undergo any additional quarantine or self-isolation. The guidelines currently for international students read differently. So those who are or traveling internationally, so it could be international students or those who have traveled internationally or on cruise ships before coming to join us, would then be required to go into quarantine for 14 days.
Thank you. And you can stay off mute because there's more coming for you. If an individual gets COVID and they share a room with somebody in university housing, what will the protocol be? Will both individuals be quarantined? What will that look like?
Sure. So we've worked with students to decide who would stay in the room. And so sometimes someone may say, I would like to move, and allow the student who is positive to stay put because that is a place that they're comfortable. If it's a local student, some of those students have chosen to go home to have the care that might be available to them there, and more space sometimes, or some of the comforts of home. So we take that and we individualize our approach, take it case by case. As you might imagine, it's not advisable to keep the person who is not tested positive in with a positive case. And so we would be offering alternative housing or living arrangements, put that person into self-isolation, and then if indicated, initiate a testing regimen as well.
Great, thank you. Dr. Eska, maybe this one is for you, or you and Dr. Vogel. How are we going to enforce rules for social distancing and wearing face coverings and things of that nature?
Certainly. Well, first and foremost, we are a community that cares. I think you heard, President Crow speak to that at the beginning. And so as a community, we want to be mindful about caring for ourselves and caring for the people around us. And so we definitely want to be role modeling what it means to be wearing our face coverings on campus. We want to role model social distancing. The campus community will be covered with a lot of messaging and a lot of signage in order to share and remind everybody who's connected to the community what it means in order to be responsible members. And so that's one of the ways in which we're going to continue to engage our students, our faculty and staff, in being able to be good role models and being very mindful about how what they do impacts others.
Right, we're all in this together, right? So we all have to play our part and help each other out. Another one for you, if somebody has breathing difficulties such as asthma or some other medical condition that might prevent them from wearing a face covering, what's the alternative?
Sure. With those, what we're asking our students to do is to really have a conversation with our Disability Resource Center, because again, it might be an individualized situation. And so we want to be able to address that in that way. So we just ask everybody who has those questions to connect with one of our colleagues in that office.
Great. And I know we're also we're gonna have face shields available as an alternative for some students where that might work. Yes. And so we'll want to work with each and every student to make sure that we're accommodating their needs.
Exactly.
Dr. Vogel, back to you. What is our testing protocol going to be? How often will tests be administered, and under what circumstances will it be required?
Yep. So we would like anyone who is symptomatic or has been exposed to seek testing. So that's sort of our first level of testing intervention. After that, we do have some groups of students, notably our student athletes, who have some requirements related to testing based upon the Pac-12 and the NCAA guidelines. And then follow that, we're encouraging people who wish to be tested to reach out to ASU Health Services, and we can arrange to have that student tested.
Thank you. And last one for you under health and wellness, and then we will move on to life on campus and just sort of, additional questions that the groups may have. But one of our webinar participants has noticed that Arizona is seeing an uptick in cases of COVID-19, and this has been in the news quite a bit, so understandable. Our panelists, our webinar participants, want to know is there a plan B in case we find ourselves, the state finds itself in another situation where it has to shut down? What would that look like? What are we thinking through? What are the scenarios that we're planning through?
So we are absolutely watching the local health conditions, and we share the concern that others have written in about with the cases that are going up in Arizona. It's exactly the reason why we have stepped out so strongly to adopt our position on face coverings and to really extend our reach into the local community, where we're starting to meet with off-campus apartments, also local restaurant owners and others that might be nearby who could learn from what we are adopting as far as health practices. And so we are taking this on as our own challenge to mitigate the risk and the virus transmission locally. But as the person who asked that question noted, is we are thinking about what are the alternatives if we had a situation that would require more intensive intervention. Does that mean moving into sync mode more readily at one point? Does this mean restricting some things that we have we are in the works about, whether that's in the dining area? Movein, which I imagine there might be some questions about Movein. Currently, we're asking families and students to really consider how many people they actually need to come into residence halls, because in thinking about the cases that you see rising in Arizona, we want to be mindful of that and think about caring about each other, and minimizing the amount of people in any space is one way to do that. And they will be required to wear face coverings, as are any visitors and vendors on our campus. So I hope that provides a little bit of a look. We're also engaging in spreading people out, that social distancing idea, whether it's via Movein or in our recreational centers or our SDFC, our Sun Devil Fitness Complex. So we've thought about everything that we can to minimize transmission, and we are staying nimble and adaptable if we need to, if we are lucky enough to loosen some of those restrictions, or if the circumstances dictate that we would need to become even more restrictive about certain things, then we are ready to do that as well.
Great, thank you. And actually, one of our questions was about Move-In Day. You touched on it a little bit. Is there anything else you'd like to add about what Move-In Day will look like? You, Dr. Vogel, or Dr. Aska?
Sure, I'll hop in there. So we have spread out the move-in experience to take up most of the month of August. So we'll begin with some early arrivals on August 1st. Then we will move into asking our Arizona residents, specifically those who are nearby and local, to consider moving in beginning the week of August 5th. They will not have access to sort of come and go freely at that time, but if they can move in the items that they would be willing to leave with us for the next week or two before they need to be on campus, that will allow us to move them in and thin out the traffic that is ordinarily associated with move-in. And then that last wave of students we would be inviting in is our out-of-state and international students to be able to move in beginning on August 12th or August 13th. You will receive specific information if you're moving on to campus by July 6th.
Great, thank you. Folks out in the audience, keep your questions coming. We've got about 14 minutes left in the webinar, so please send your questions our way. Another question about welcome activities. Will there still be welcome activities this fall? What will those look like? Dr. Aska?
Yes, we are looking forward to welcoming our students to the university. And as far as what they will look like, right now we're planning for the opportunity for them to be virtual. We're planning for them according to CDC guidelines where they can be in person. We'll be monitoring that. But, you know, a really good example is that we just had a wonderful experience for our students where we had a virtual concert with multi-platinum artist Jason Derulo. And it was absolutely wonderful where our student leaders had a chance to actually have a live Q&A with him at the end of the concert. And so keeping along the lines of being innovative, we're thinking creatively about what these welcome experiences will be. Our student leaders have been very active throughout the spring and even during the summer with regards to thinking about having their meetings online, engaging and having activities online with our students. And so we're gearing up for something that's going to be fun and exciting, and looking forward to having students be a part of that experience.
Thank you. Another question is, how are freshmen going to get to meet people before classes begin? So much of that on-campus experience is about meeting folks and making connections. And so what's the environment going to look like for that?
Sure. We know some of that is happening now because our students are engaged in our Devils to Devils experience, and so they're making connections now. But we also have new this year, our new to ASU crew, and so we're really excited about that because all of our new students are being connected in peer groups with upperclassmen student leaders, and so that'll give them a chance to connect with each other as new students to the university, but also be connected to an upperclassman that can give them advice, that can give them guidance, that could share with them where to access different resources or services, and just be able to create that level of connection and begin to foster some understanding about our students' new interests so that we can get them well connected once they arrive on campus. So hopefully students will begin to hear, if they haven't already, begun to get connected to their new to ASU crew.
Great, sounds amazing. Another question is about dining on campus. How will students get to choose what to eat from the dining halls? Will all the meals be prepackaged, or will they be able to pick out their food? What will that look like for students? Dr. Aska or Dr. Vogel?
Either one of us. It will continue to be takeout, but this may be a good question also for Quinlan to kind of chime in and give what her experience has been this past spring semester. But it will be takeout. Now, students will have access to their residential dining hall. We also have our residential retail on campus, so students will be able to access that, whether they need a bag of chips or some soda, whatever it might be, or healthier options like some fruit. But they'll also have different retails that we have throughout our unions and on our different campus locations that they'll be able to have some food available there. So they will have options. What we're going to continue to communicate is still wear your face coverings, still be mindful about social distancing, but definitely please go access the food that we have and you get it in a takeout component for yourself.
Thank you. Quinlan, is there anything you wanted to add about that?
Not really. I think Dr. Aska covered it well. I think that what students want on campus will be there for them, just it'll look a little bit different, and it'll be available to us how we need to be to keep everyone safe. And so I think that's something that to keep in mind, that we'll still be able to find food on campus and get the takeout food from the dining halls and still get that experience. It might just look a little bit different than before.
Great. And as Dr. Crow mentioned, we are expanding our outdoor seating area because we still want to, give students a chance to be able to, interact with friends and peers on campus, while they're eating. We'll just be doing it in a slightly different environment. Question about residence halls. Will kitchens and common areas be available in residence halls? Will there be any limitations? Dr. Vogel?
Yes, so we do have availability there. It will be subject to some of the similar guidelines that we're talking about, as we're asking you to wear your face coverings. We're asking you to socially distance. We will also likely have occupancy limits similar to some of the classroom settings. And so currently the guidance that we have for gatherings sets the maximum at 10. But that can also be subject to the space that we have available to us. But they will be available, kitchens and common rooms, but with face covering, social distancing, and a few of those other maximum guidelines of people, which we will adjust depending upon the local health conditions.
Great, thank you. Another question that we have about dining is, are there going to be any cost adjustments due to it being in a takeout only format? Dr. Vogel?
No cost adjustments there. As Dean Aska and Quinlan noted, you still have the variety of food you're accustomed to. When that word prepackaged, that sounded like a to-go box before. This is, you're still selecting your own food. We simply won't have things like a buffet. You can imagine why that wouldn't be indicated for now for the health conditions we have, but we will not be adjusting price in that way because you will still have access to a wide range of food options.
Great. Thank you. Another question from the audience. Are club activities going to be terminated for the year? Dr. Aska, Dr. Vogel?
We're both shaking our head and Quinlan is smiling. I think Quinlan should jump in here. Quinlan is our PAB, Programming Activities Board President for the Tempe location. And Quinlan, maybe you could share a little bit of maybe what you have planned for your peers coming up this school year.
Yes, so obviously events that we used to have on campus that are 300 plus people can't happen anymore in the same way. But our vision as a board, as an organization, is to to drive the student experience and to get the students engaged on campus however we can. And so some of the things that we've been talking about is bringing our programming to residence halls, bringing our programming to the students, and then having them log into a live stream so we can all paint a picture together, so we can all watch someone perform together. So we're bringing programming to people and making it more of a hybrid experience, and not all in person, but making it so that people can still be engaged on campus, because that's what we're here for as the Program Activities Board. That is our role, to engage students. So there's lots of planning still about what events will look like, but we're eager to have events for our students to be engaged on campus.
And Katie, if I could follow up on that a little bit more too, Quinlan, great job. I think, we're planning for our students to have a virtual involvement fair, because we want them to know about almost 1,000 clubs and organizations that we have across the university. Same thing with our Greek organizations. All of our organizations, they're open for recruitment right now. And so individuals can go and learn more about what's happening with our fraternity and sorority life. So indeed, our students and our teams are moving fully forward with creating an experience that's going to be very meaningful and impactful for our students.
Great, thank you so much. Another question is around sports and sports events. Are sports events canceled, or is everything still in place as scheduled? Dr. Vogel, do you want to take this one and talk a little bit about where we are with athletics?
Absolutely. So we have begun bringing our student athletes back to engage in voluntary workouts. So we are all really hopeful that we can return to enjoying athletics events. We will be, of course, waiting upon guidance from our conference and from the NCAA about our ability to do that, or if we can, how will it look? So will it look differently? If we're in a stadium, will we be watching them in a different format like some other sports have done? We're waiting on those answers, but I think probably like many of you listening, we are hopeful that we will be able to watch our Sun Devils win.
Great, thank you. Dr. Zhaj, Dr. Corey, I am coming back to you, one of you for this one, I think. Will there be restrictions on the number of people allowed in libraries at any given time, or will there be any changes to the rules about checking out materials? Any insight on that?
Let me sort of make some brief comments on this. Of course, like we are going to be using social distancing in library like any other space. So the number of students in a particular room might be limited, but ASU's library is developing processes where students will be able to check out books and find access to the learning materials they need to be successful. Fred, I wonder if you want to add anything to my comment.
Most of the academic journals, the journals that you're reading for your classes, are all available online. So you would not even actually need to go to the physical library in order to access the material you need for your classes. And I see Quinlan is nodding. Is that your experience, Quinlan?
Yes, I have never checked out any of the material in the library because it is so accessible online to me. It is so immediately accessible for students. And so I think this is where that online library is a positive aspect for us students.
Thank you so much. Back to a residence hall question. Are you required to wear masks in your dorm room? Dr. Aska, Dr. Vogel?
No, your dorm room is a place where you can take off your face covering. Now, if you have multiple people in the room and you all are unable to socially distance, I might still advise that face coverings are on. But if we haven't mentioned yet, you may have seen on the website that we are having a no guest policy for our residential halls. And so only the people who live in that particular residence hall will be allowed in there. But no, in your own room, we hope that is the space where you can most feel comfortable and take off your face covering.
We've got about 3 minutes left in our webinar. I'm going to try to tick through our last remaining questions. Again, if your question didn't get answered, we will get back to you with a response, but we hope that we were able to provide you what you needed today. One question, and Dr. Ask, I'm going to turn to you on this one. How is the university helping our Black students acclimate to student life and perform well in light of COVID-19 and the national protests that we're seeing? Are there academic support staff and counseling for students who feel isolated or may have other challenges, in this environment? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely, yes. And, our students are still very engaged throughout this time and working with the university and amongst themselves in order to continue to foster support for their peers. And so our ASU counseling services is available to our students, and students can require a counselor of their choice if they're so inclined to make that request. Our student leaders have created what's called a support circle for their peers to just create space for them to have dialogue and conversation and think proactively about things that they want to be able to do as a community within the university. And so yes, those support mechanisms exist for our students, and we'll continue to engage them in dialogue and identify the things that are critical for them at this time, and then of course as we continue in the fall semester. But I will share that we have a wonderful program that's called Sankofa that students will be hearing about, and they'll be able to apply for that program. And it's a peer-led program in which it focuses on helping to support our students make the transition to the university and getting them connected again to their peers, like so many other programs that we have through our academic colleges at the university.
Great, thank you so much. And we're going to close with a question actually for Dr. Wentz. You thought you might be able to get out of this one, but no such luck. Any specific instructions for international graduate students at this point in time?
So my recommendation is that you are in touch early and frequently with your with the school or department that you're planning to pursue your degree program with. Some students come with funding, and the funding for particularly PhD students is very much dependent on the nature of the work that they would be doing and whether the funding agency actually allows for payment outside of the United States. And so they need to be in touch with their faculty supervisors about that and to check to make sure that that's possible. For students who are not on any kind of graduate funding, just like with the undergraduates, courses are going to be available through iCourses and through ASU Sync. So all the degree program progress will be able to go forward.
Great, thank you so much. It is 6 p.m. on the dot here in Arizona, and we had indicated that this would be a 60-minute program, and so we have reached our limit. We hope that you found this useful and beneficial, and you were able to get some insight into what campus life will look like this fall at ASU. On your screen are websites that you can visit and email addresses if you have additional questions, and we'll get this out to everybody. I know it's just up on the screen right now, but we'll send this out to everybody so you can have quick access to these email addresses. And please feel free to reach out at any moment in time. We're here to serve you. We're here to help your experience coming into ASU go smoothly and to make it a great one. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you this fall. Go Devils! See you later. Thanks, everyone.